I was going to try and do this with a straight face, like this is the first time you've seen me tonight. If you're watching this on video on demand or a podcast, suffice it to say, this is not the first attempt we've had to start the show tonight, and I'll leave it at that. But it is actually just about still the 7th of October 2012. It's a little bit after 9 o'clock, but we're here now. Let's say we were having some technical difficulties, which it seems we have now overcome, and the missing mouse, but that's another story. Yeah, so welcome to Dave's Tacklebox. On tonight's show, we'll be joined by Dugie in a short while, who has put together a little VT, and then we're going to have a chat about it, because it's a really interesting subject matter. And actually something that I've not actually really had the opportunity to think about or deal with in my own life since I started vaping, actually. But Dougie's been well, he's going to be giving us an update on some people he knows that have taken up vaping, and it's a very 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 good VT, and we're going to have a little chat about that. Myself, I've been looking at a device that I've been using for over a week now, and whilst I've been travelling and working away and all the rest of it, I've been using this device, and it's going to surprise you that I have managed to exist on this device. And later in the show, if there's time, I'm just going to spend a couple of minutes talking about something that I noticed about my own vaping habits whilst I was sitting on a train last Monday on the way into the office in Germany. Something that actually surprised me quite a bit when I sat and thought about it, and so I'm gonna bang on about that a bit as well. Then there's details of some vape meets coming up. We've got news of a competition coming up in the new show that Mark Green is doing for us, called Vapor Scene, and how you can win a bottle of juice each week, which is pretty cool. But let's get it started. I've got a VT here where I'm going to talk about this little eensy weensy e-cig here, which, well, it surprised me, let's put it that way. Roll VT. Hi, I'm Dave, and this video is about the Ovale Elips electronic cigarette and a PCC, but we'll come to that. Now, I know this isn't a new product. They've actually released a updated version of this, but I think these are still available, called the elipse, which looks like it has some kind of replaceable atomizer coil. Not too sure about that. This is the original Elips, if you like, and the latest incarnation of the original design, and it's a little tank system. Now, as I say, I know it's not new. I've even done a review in the past myself of a similar looking device called the Elf, but Ovale were the guys that came up with this idea originally, I believe. So this is, like, if you like, the one that was copied by all the others. Now, the story goes like this. I was at Vape Fest Ireland a few weeks ago now, and I bumped into a guy called Alex Pescar, who's a sales manager from Ovale Ireland, and he handed me this kit and asked me if I'd like to review it for our viewers on Vapor Trails TV, and I said yes, of course. And he handed me the starter kit and also the PCC that goes with it. So what I thought we'd do is have a look at the e-cig first. I'll show you what comes in the box, tell you what I think about it, and then we'll have a look at the PCC. So let's switch camera angles now. So let's start by looking at what comes in the box, and a very nicely presented box it is. Gives you some tips on there, shows you how it fits together loosely, how to charge the battery, how to refill your tank. I'll show you what's in there. I'll show you what I've been doing with it. User manual, not bad. It's quite short. It looks really thick, but it's in about 1 million different languages. So actually only the first 5 or 6 pages or in English, and it's stuff that if you've used an e-cig before, it's pretty standard stuff. There's a good common sense advice in there, tells you how to assemble the little tank system for the first time and so on, so worth a read. Now obviously normally there's two complete e-cigs in here, and I have actually been using them both for the last week and a bit. I've got one assembled here, but you basically get two batteries. Let's unpack everything. Two of these mouthpieces, and inside there's a tank, and then this proprietary atomizer, so you know there's no using these on 510 threads or anything like that. Yeah, it's totally proprietary atomizer made to fit this battery and this battery alone. Then in the bottom of the box you get some more boxes. In here was a USB charging lead, which obviously I've been using. Fairly standard thing. Again, worth pointing out that it's a proprietary sort of fitting. It looks to be similar to the one that I had with the ELF, but I've not tried it. Oh, I have actually. Yes, I have. The ELF and Elips connectors are interchangeable. I have to say this one is made of seems to be a much more heavy duty, significantly higher quality than the one I got with the ELF. I got a European, or is that an American charger? That's an American charger, isn't it? So, okay, I was given this at Vape Fest. I'm not sure, but check if you order one that you get a British or Irish wall plug adapter. Irish and British being the same thing, obviously, and not this. And then in here you have some spare tanks, and I've used one of the spare tanks there. I actually have 4 tanks in circulation at the moment. There were 2 that came in the mouthpieces in the tray in the box, and there were 3 in the box, of which I've now opened 2. So you can see that I've got 4 in use at the moment. You'll see why. These things are mouthpieces. Now there are 2 styles of mouthpiece, and you can probably tell if I hold them to the camera like that. This one is more elliptical, a bit like the battery shape, and this one's like a bit fatter. They differ that way as well. This one tapers towards the top, this one is straight. It's just a question of which one you prefer to use. But they supply these silicone mouthpieces, what they describe on the box, make sure I get this right, as hygienic caps for the flat mouthpiece and for the round mouthpiece. Now, I did try using it with one of these on. It might be worth keeping these in your pocket in case somebody else wanted to try one or something. You just pop the cap on and use it. But frankly, I'm not using those. They seem a little bit pointless to me. So these are the main components of the electronic cigarette. When you take them out of the box, you've got your battery, you've got your atomizer, and inside each mouthpiece there was a tank in mine. This one's been used, but we can reuse it, it's fine. You charge your batteries using the provided USB cable. I've got a powered USB hub that I use for charging everything, so even when I turn my computer off it carries on charging my e-cigs. It literally just fits in the bottom, and while the battery's charging there's a red light. When that red light goes off, the battery's fully charged. The batteries reach 350 milliamp hours, so that's about half of a standard size Ego battery, to give you an idea of how long they'll last. Obviously how long they'll last depends on how often you press that button. When you press the button to fire the battery, the light comes on. There's no power on or power off 3 or 5 click system with these. It is what it is. But I have to say, I've been carrying these around in my trouser pockets for the best part of, well, about a week and a half, and I've not had an issue with them firing when I didn't want them to. They're quite, the button's slightly recessed, and that seems to help with that. So when you've got a new tank, you see the hole in the bottom there, that will actually be sealed with plastic. So to pierce that so you can get your liquid into the tank, first thing you need to do is attach your atomizer to the battery. Now in the instructions it does say, I don't think there's a right and a wrong way to do this, it's oval shaped and it just pushes on, and that's your atomizer attached to the battery. In the instructions it does sort of recommend that you don't detach the atomizer at all, if you can help it, from that one until you need to replace it. So with a new tank you just need to push that onto the metal spike like that. It takes a little bit of pressure, it'll go click as it punches the hole, but you end up with a tank with a hole into which you can pour your juice. So if you've got a spiky thing on top of your juice bottle, that will go in there. I happen to have some loaded up here in this syringe, which I'm just going to enter into the tank now. The tanks hold about 1.5 millilitres of juice. Once that's on there, I can push that on to the atomizer, make sure it's on fairly firmly, looks like that, and then stick your mouthpiece on the top. As I say, I actually prefer the other one, but this is the rounded one as opposed to the tapered one, and you push that down and that's your e-cig ready to go. So here we are, I've got an Elips here, fully ready to go, charged, it's got juice in it. This happens to be a PG juice. I have tried it with Vapor World's BM1, is it? I can never remember which is which, the PG VG mix. Yeah, BM1, and it seems to work fine. I've had no issues with leaks, I've had no issues with wicking or anything like that, and like I say, this is just a PG juice. And the vapour production is incredible for something that size. Now obviously a battery is pretty much a battery, so that's got to be down to the atomizers, and the atomizers are quite pricey. I had to convert it back from euros because I was looking on the Ovale Island site, and they're panning out about 12 quid, and I guess there'd be postage on top of that too. So they're not cheap, and I don't at this point know how long they're going to last. So that'll be interesting to find out. I am interested in these I am interested in these Elipse C atomizers and might order a few of those to try. Even after using this for a couple of weeks or whatever it is now, I'm still never cease to be amazed by the amount of vapour it kicks out. The flavour is really good. It's the best tasting tank system I've tried. So for these tank type atomizers that came on the Ego and what have you, this one, the flavour is really, really good and very usable. But there's an obvious limitation with the battery size. That's where the PCC comes in. Let's take a look at the PCC. Now, one disadvantage with these little batteries, and as you just saw, you know, they perform really, really well for the size of the device. I'm struggling to think of anything that performs quite as well, that's that compact. But there's an obvious disadvantage to a battery that size, and that is that it's 350 milliamp hours. It's gonna run out fairly quickly if you're a fairly heavy vapor. Let's just assume that you get through an Ego battery a day, you're gonna need 2 of these. That's where the PCC comes in. And I've reviewed PCCs before, and so has everybody else. There's nothing actually very remarkable about this particular PCC other than it's also elliptical like the Elips. It's actually kind of neat. It is very well packaged, it's very simple to use, but I'll spend a minute now and show you how you do it. It also comes with some instructions, but I'll try and spare you the need to read those. You get another charging cable, which of course is the same as the one that comes with the Elips itself, so that one is unused therefore. To charge your e-cig from the PCC, you first have to charge the PCC, and you do that just like you do with the batteries. When I connect the power supply to the PCC, these little red lights flash three times, I think it is. Then they go through the little cycle to show you that it's charging. Once all the red lights have gone off, so you know the PCC is fully charged, and you've disconnected your power supply, you can press the button. There's only a single button on the front, and the number of lights that tell you the charge in the PCC. Let's make sure I get this right. If there's one light, there's less than 40%. If there's two lights, there's between 40 and 70%. And if there's three lights, it's over 70% charged. A fully charged PCC will charge 3 Elips batteries from scratch. So if you completely flatten this, you'll be able to recharge it 3 times with the power in here. To use the PCC to charge my Elips battery, it's really simple. About as simple as it gets, really. You take the top off, and you can see there's a single hole. Pop your Elips in there, it doesn't matter which way around, and press it down, and you'll see the lights start to cycle. The LEDs turn off, but that is now charging the battery. If I want to know the status of the battery, I can just press the button, and that tells me it's still charging. Red lights tell me the amount of power left in the PCC. The white lights are telling me that it's still charging the e-cig. I can then put the cap back on, shove it in my bag or my pocket. The way I've been using this in the last week is to have one on the go while one's on charge, and charge the PCC overnight. It's worked quite well for me, actually. One little feature I do like about this is there are some little plastic retainers in the cap, which you might be able to see on the camera. Do my best. Here's a tank with one of the little rubber caps that comes with them, and that fits into the cap like that. So I can have a battery with a tank and a spare tank being charged while I've got one in use. So that means I can basically, if I fill everything up in the morning and charge everything up in the morning, I've got enough for 3 recharges, 2 full batteries. That's 5, that's 15, that's 1750 milliamp hours, which is more than enough to get me through a day, and 4.5 mil of juice. So here I am. I got my fully charged Elips, fully charged PCC, into which I've put a fully charged Elips. This should, and has, kept me happy for the whole day, for over a week. So as I said at the beginning, not the newest piece of kit on the market. I am going to do a little follow-up piece to this, which will be shown on my Vapor Trails TV show. Until then, thanks for watching.
Sponsors of Dave's Tacklebox.
Good evening, country. Taking a little while to get things lined up and ready to go. But I'm here now, so welcome to Dave's Tacklebox.
So there we go, I'm back in the room and not long to go now. So yeah, I was talking to my son and he's watched me make things before.
At Veterans TV Towers. Tonight being Wednesday night, it is time for the one and only chat show programme called PT Talk. It is the Haze Hour. Again, Keith was just saying if it wasn't for the titles, he wouldn't come and do the show. He loves them so much, doesn't he? Alright.
Cloud9 Vaping, sponsors of Dave's Tacklebox.
And welcome back. Yeah, now, okay, so that was my thoughts on the Elips, and you could tell I quite liked it. It's quite funny, you may notice there was no pricing information in that VT, and there's good reason for that. I actually went to the site that owned by the guy that gave me that to review for you, and it appears that they don't sell them anymore. It's now it's obsolete. They're still selling the replacement parts and stuff for a while, but the current model is the one that I referred to in the VT, which was the elipse. Now I've swapped emails and a phone call with Alex at Ovale Island, and hopefully I should have one of those in my possession fairly soon, so I can do a follow-up to that. And as I said, towards the end of the show I'm going to comment a little bit more on the Elips, because it really did quite surprise me. But before then, before we get to anything like that, I've got somebody sitting there quietly, because he's already... Say hello, Doug.
Hello, everybody.
Okay, would you like to see him, everyone? Look at that. Now, I tell you what, 5 minutes after we were supposed to go live, this shot wasn't possible. But we're there now. I've just realised my shirt interferes with the camera. So, nice. Anyway, Dougie, you've done a VT for us, haven't you? Would you like to introduce it?
Yeah, it's basically a little bit of information about the uptake on vaping in my workplace over the last month, basically, and how it's exploded, the amount of people that I've decided to give them a go.
Okay. All you've got to do then is say roll VT.
Roll VT. I've been noticing a massive change in the place where I'm working, to do with smokers and vapors, really. I've been vaping now just over 10 months, and for the first 2 months there was only myself at work that was vaping. Eventually the young lad that sat in front of me decided to, give vaping a go, and he tried bits of my stuff that I was taking to work, and I gave him some liquids. He bought a little AIO PCC kit, and good news is he's still on the electronic cigarette now, which is fantastic news. Now, over the last month, so after myself vaping around the office for about 9 months, I've noticed a change in people's thoughts and opinions on e-cigs. I mean, when I first started smoking around the office, I used to get questions, the usual stuff like this. How much does vaping cost? Also this. Where can you buy them from? And this. are they legal to smoke indoors? The usual type of comments, questions, but also I used to get, you know, some funny comments like this. Personally, I think you look daft. Comments like this. I think you're either a smoker, you don't. E-cigs to me. Daft. But over the last month, as I was saying, I've noticed a massive change in people's opinions. You know, people were coming out with comments like that, and I had no grumble with it, you know, but I've noticed over time they'd come a little bit closer to me and then say, you know, can I have a go? So I'd give them a go. Then, you know, the question of where can I buy them from would pop up again, and I'd tell them, they'd buy and they'd try. You know, in the last month we have gone in my workplace from 2 to 9 vapors in the last month, which to me is fantastic. Wide range of people. There's one of the ladies that I work with. She's been smoking for over 20 years, but she only smokes anything from 5 to 7. Now she's the newest in the office. She's been on them a week. Not touched a cigarette since. There's a young 22-year-old girl at work. She's picked up a little VIP starter kit. 2 weeks. You know, no cigarettes since. There's a 40-year-old guy. He's been on them now a month. He uses an Ego kit with a dual coil cartomizer with a little cartomizer tank. Not touched a cigarette since. Now my boss, he's been on them just over a month. Or is it about, I think, no, actually, I tell a lie, I think it's about 2 months now he's been on them. Now he's mid-50s and he smoked anything from 20 to 30 a day for 37 years. And since the day he bought an Ego battery, well, a couple of Ego batteries with some cartomizer tanks, and since he's moved on to some Ego twists with a few more cartomizer tanks attached on. And like I say, he smoked up until 2 months ago. He'd smoked for 37 years, anything from 20 to 30 cigarettes a day. Since he got his kit, he's not had a cigarette. Do you see the pattern here? You know, and there's the other guys that have started using them. You know, a wide variety of kits. We've got lookalike kits, Ego batteries, VIP starter kits. We've even got vapories, disposables being used in the office. You've got myself on my, you know, Prevairies, Touchwood Minis, and the main thing is the amount of interest in the last month. I don't know what's made the attitude change, but within the last month, because I've been using them around the office for 10 months, but all of a sudden, in the last 4 weeks, people have just bit the bullet and gone. I've never pushed it on them. I've always just answered any questions they've had. Something is changing the way people are, you know, thinking about these now. They're actually willing to give it a go. I don't know what it is, but I'm just glad it's now happening. And the main thing for me is for all of us in the office that have tried e-cigarettes. I mean, these guys have tried patches, they've tried the tablets or the Chantix or Champix, They've all tried them and they failed miserably. Now, all the guys in the office that have tried the electronic cigarettes, you know, have not touched one since. And to me, that just speaks, you know, of success. It's pure success. Electronic cigarettes, we know they work. For those people doubting, I hope some of you guys see this. They do get people off the fags. It's a fact. And I am over the moon for the other 8 people in my office that are now on electronic cigarettes. They no longer do this. Now what they do is this. Thanks very much for watching.
Yeah, that is the end. Seamless. Yeah, that was just a dramatic pause there, just to let the audience absorb what they'd just seen. Doug, I in no way miss my cue whatsoever. Okay.
I believe you. Many wouldn't. And it was Merlin I was watching.
I'm looking at the chat there, and every comment I can see is damn good video, nice vid, great VT, nice vid, nice one Dougie, great vid Dougie. And I at the top of the show I said it's a great VT, and what I like about that VT is it's the experience that I think a lot of people have had. But I've got to say, not me. Now I do flit around a bit from job to job. Okay, so I tend to turn up at places using one of these things, and people look at you funny, and before you get to know people really, really well, you kind of moved on. Now that said, I've had a couple of people try e-cigs on the project that I'm working on in Germany at the moment. One of the guys has subsequently shipped off. I think he's in the Ukraine or something now. But last I heard, he was ordering himself an ego kit from a Belgian supplier because he lives in Belgium. My boss, I've tried a couple of times giving him things, and but I've I've made a distinct effort not to pressure people. I mean, one of the things that I've commented on in the past before is, you know, I'm delighted for people who make this switch, but I'm not the sort of evangelical type. I don't feel I need to be on a mission to shove it down their throats. I mean, what do you find? Have you been sort of really sort of evangelical, for want of a better word, with it, or how do you approach it? Because I mean, like, you know, one has to assume that if you started with 1 vapor and you've now got 9, that you've probably been instrumental in that. You've at least sowed the seed. I mean, what kind of conversations did you have with these guys before they went out and bit the bullet?
Well, basically, I allowed them to approach me, you know, first asking questions, what the heck is that? And, you know, the usual first-time questions for somebody who's never seen you know, something that looks like a crack pipe, as they sometimes call it.
Yeah, which it doesn't. I'd just like to point that out, because I hear that one all the time. It's like a crack pipe. No, it's not.
No. But for some reason they say it. I mean, not the people at work. I mean, I try to approach my mum and say, here, you know, mum, try one of these, sod off.
Yeah.
That's what she said to me.
Yeah.
So I left it, and she eventually approached me, and she's been on them since that day. Now, the people at work, I did the opposite. I just never bothered saying, here, have a go, unless they asked. I let them come to me. The boss was one of the first on them with me, apart from the young lad. But when one of the salespeople up on the next floor decided to give them a go, they all started to follow suit. Because I'm on a different floor at work, so obviously they'd seen me about work with them, and they'd all been asking me about them. But as soon as they saw one of their own on the sales floor, it exploded. And there's a couple more already waiting for kits as well.
That's an interesting point, and that's going to be a factor as well. Because it's funny, not last week, I did go to Oktoberfest last week, but the week before I went as a kind of team do. And one of the lads that I share an office with, he sits probably 15 feet from me, facing each other, sort of diagonally. So, you know, if we look up from our computer screens, we see each other all day. And I'm quite careful when I use this, you know, I don't blow out plumes of vapour or anything.
You want to see me?
But, of course, at Oktoberfest, I was there in the middle of this beer tent. We'd had, let's say, a drink or two at this point. And I am blowing out the plumes of vapour. And he said, oh, is that an electronic cigarette? You know, we shared an office for like a year. You know, is that an electronic cigarette? I said, yeah, you must have seen me using it. And he said, yeah, I wondered what it was. Yeah, just, but you know, but I guess that's a point. You know, if I was very open about what it was and people were seeing vapour and all the rest of it, then it might have been a lot more clear. I mean, your employers are obviously very relaxed about it.
Yeah, I walk around the whole office. I mean, we're on 2 floors, really big building, and I just walk around all over with it. I'm forever using it. Even before the boss was on, I was in his office using it. So he's been a gem with it. Obviously, you know, he's a smoker and he had an interest, obviously, because he was asking me himself. So,
okay.
But yeah, you know, like I say, the weird thing for me at work was, you know, I'd been walking around with it for so long, and a couple of the IT lads got on it. But as soon as one of the salespersons picked it up, and they saw one of their own, as I always say,
yeah,
they've just exploded with it. You know, like I said, they'd all been asking me questions and everything, and I just hope it continues to grow, because out of all the staff in our building, probably 90% are smokers.
Right.
High stress job sales. So hopefully, even more will follow suit.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed. You know, for their sake, not for mine. But,
yeah,
no, that's good. Okay. I mean, we've got about a minute left. Any message that you want to get across on this for anybody watching?
Just don't be scared to give it a go. Nobody looks at you like you're a plonker just because you've got something different in your hand. Just give it a go. That's all I can really say. That's what the guys at work had to overcome, the fear of thinking they looked daft, and now they couldn't give 2 hoots. I
think that's a pretty good place to wrap that up. Dougie, thank you for a really excellent VT. You've set the bar, so you've made it very difficult for yourself for next week. You know, VTTV, the show that likes to raise the bar, you know.
So, don't raise it anymore, I won't be able to see over it.
In all seriousness, that was a really interesting VT. It was really well put together and fantastic subject matter. Thank you for joining me.
No worries.
You get to go and put your feet up now. And we're going to take another commercial break. See you in 2 and a bit minutes, guys. Thanks, Dougie. Say bye.
See you later, everybody.
Cloud9 Vaping, sponsors of Dave's Tacklebox.
GG, because you want one.
iVapour and iVapour Elixir, based in Yorkshire, for your e-cig needs. That's iVapour.co.uk and iVapour-elixir.co.uk. iVapour and iVapour-elixir.co.uk, proud sponsors of VapourTrails.tv.
If you can't watch our shows live, try some of these. Go to YouTube at youtube.com/user/vaportrailstv and you can subscribe there. All of our shows are uploaded as soon as possible after they've gone out live. Enjoy watching it on YouTube. Lots of people do. Alternatively, go to Google and type in podcast vaportrails.tv and iTunes. Click on the link and that will take you to a page that shows you the Vapor Trails TV podcast. View it in iTunes, and when you get to iTunes, don't forget to click on subscribe free, and each of the shows will be downloaded to your hard drive as soon as they come out. Or you can use video on demand. Go to www.vaportrails.tv, click on vPlayer, pick the show you want to watch, in this case it's the Haze Hour, and then you can pick the episode that you want to watch from every one that we've ever done. They're all there. Under normal circumstances you'll watch it at 360p, which means everybody can see it. It'll go full screen, you can do whatever you want with it. So there you go, 3 ways that you can watch vaportrails.tv. Subscribe and enjoy. Thanks.
Cloud9 Vaping, sponsors of Dave's Tacklebox.
And welcome back. Now, in a little while, I just want to talk about this kind of the ellipse, but wider sort of issue of vaping habits. But first, in case there's anybody out there who hasn't got the message, we've got a new show coming up, and I've got a message. Now, we're very excited about this new show. It's going to be starting within the next 2-3 weeks. We want to make sure everything's absolutely right before we start streaming it. Mark has been working away so hard. Mark's obviously fronting the show, but what we like about this show is it's kind of going to be like a magazine format, and most of the VaporTrails.tv team are going to be contributing in some way. Just a little bit each week. Keep it interesting, keep it exciting. One of the things that we'll be doing as a reasonably regular feature, probably weekly I would think, is running a competition under the name of a feature called Show Us Yours. Let me just show you this little clip that we knocked together earlier that's doing the rounds on the forums and YouTube, and you'll be a little bit wiser. Right, so just to be very, very clear about this, what we want, what Marco wants, what we all want are your vaping pictures, and there were a few little examples in there. We saw the wonderful Gerinthium, Mr. Jim Maitland, standing on the peak of Snowdon, having a vape. We saw some weird and wonderful kit. We saw some sort of Photoshop jobs. There's no formula to win this. Basically, we're going to pick the most interesting photograph. Over a period of time, we'll build up a good library of these. We'll show a few, and obviously, if we pick you as the winner in any particular week, then you will be able to go to the Flavour Art UK website, choose the strength and flavour of juice that you prefer, and they'll send you a 30ml bottle. It's free juice. It really is that simple. So let's get your entries in. I forgot to do a little bottom third, but that VT's around. It's ever so easy. You need to send your pictures to Vaporscene, all one word, VAPER scene at vaportrails.tv, and let's start building that library up. And well, I've got a funny feeling there'll be a bottle of juice one on the very first show in a couple of weeks. So there you go. I'm just going to play a quick sting. Back in 10 seconds or something. Told you I'd be back, and here I am in changed scenery. This is live. See, it's some minutes to 11 because we're running a bit late. I wanted to follow on. I did that review of the Elips, and what I didn't want to do in there is go into, because it's kind of like a little bit of a newbie sort of how to look at a particular kind of device kind of review. But this has actually, I found myself sitting on a train on Monday of last week after quite a long journey. So on my way into the office, it would be sort of lunchtime-ish, and I was sitting there and I had this in my hand, and it just occurred to me that I'd been using this since I'd left the house in the morning. So I'd done possibly a 6-7 hours of travelling at that point, from the moment I left the house to the moment that I was sitting there, and actually typed a few notes into my iPad, you know, just to try and record the thought, basically. And it occurred to me that how much my vaping habit has changed. About, well, probably just over a year ago, if you were watching Vapor Trails TV at that time, you might recall a little mini series, a little feature we did, where I was comparing 3 different large tank systems. I had a big box mod that held 6ml of juice, and I had the Workmates, which obviously you could attach a 20 or even a 30ml bottle to, and I had the GGTS with the UFS, and I was basically looking to see what the most viable big tank system out there was at the time. And the reason for that was my vaping habit was continual. Like many people I read on the forums and people I meet, your e-cig's never out of your mouth. Whereas you used to smoke a cigarette and put it out, when you switch to vaping, it's a continual thing. It's not like one cigarette, then a gap, then a second one, and so on. And it got me to thinking how much my habit had changed. I started the journey, the project, the office I'm working in at the moment. I started doing that in June 2011. So what's that? June, July, August, September. That's about 16 months ago. And at that time, I had I was travelling using an 1100 milliamp hour Ego battery. I started off using I forget what I was actually using to start with, but then these dual coil things came out and I switched to them because they hold like 5ml of juice, and I was flattening one of them on the journey, and that's 1100 milliamp hours, and before I got back to my hotel room I would have to switch batteries, and I would probably have to replenish the cartomizer as well, 5ml of juice. And here's a gadget that's got 350 milliamp hours of power and 1.5ml juice in it, and I thought, that's come quite a long way from looking from a huge tank system to managing with an ego, or a stock of egos in my bag. To give you an idea, I had this thing in the top pocket of my winter coat, because you need a winter coat at this time of the year when you're near the Alps, and it stayed there all week. I never removed it from my pocket. I managed with this and the PCC that you saw before, and the difference is 45 milligram juice. I am now vaping about 2 millilitres a day, whereas it was over 6 12 months ago. A 350 milliamp hour battery, a lot of us laugh at them and say that wouldn't last us. The reality is it does if you're using really strong juice. 1.5 mil tank, 350 milliamp hour battery, lasts me the best part of a day. I found in the hotel the battery eventually conked out on me because I was a bit, you know, I think I was watching Vapor Trails TV. Actually, I was watching Gary and Mark and Tin Your Tip, and it conked out on me, and that was fine because I just took the other one from the PCC and dropped that one in. It works. I went for an all-day drinking session last week at Oktoberfest. We had beer for breakfast at 9:30 a.m. and we went on somewhere after they chucked us out. Must have been about 10:30 in the evening. And I had to swap it for the PCC that was in my pocket again. It got me through the day. And it's hysterical because 12 months ago, there's no way I would have accepted that anything less than an 18650 device with at least a 5 mil tank would have performed that way. So there's some food for thought. So now I'll probably do something on that and come up with some more convincing numbers and what have you. But it just made me think, I've used this statement myself many times. You know, want it bigger. Recently I reviewed that Totally Wicked Odyssey thing and said, they could do with an 18650 version, you know, to make it more viable. But the reality is that using the juice that works for me forces a habit that works for me, and I can manage on a 350 milliamp hour battery. So I wonder if others could too. And there you go. That's pretty much what I had to say. Right, we have one more thing to talk about tonight, and that is vape meets. So we've had quite a few vape meets going on recently, and I haven't had, mostly because I haven't had time to chase things down, but I will be trying to get some updates for these vape meets that go on around the country. We've got a couple more to remind you about tonight, so have a little look at this VT. So there's a little reminder, if you're organising a vape meet, and it doesn't have to be Vape Fest, it doesn't even have to be like the Midlands mini meet with people there and the hiring halls. You're having a little get together and you'd like to meet some new vapors or what have you in the local pub. It's ever so easy to do. We'll publicise it for you, we'll get people along. There are actually 2 vape meets coming up next Saturday. And one, of course, is the Knees Up, and we may sneak that trailer with the annoying music in a minute. We'll see how we go. But the other one I wanted to let you know about is the one that was in the little roll call there, which is a South Wales mini meet. The details of that, if you go into the UK Vapors forum, into the regional groups, the details are all there. They're on the VT there. If you're watching this on video on demand, just back it up, because I can't remember them off the top of my head, but I think it's somewhere near Bridgend, if memory serves me right. They've got themselves a pub sorted out. They're going to have a great day. Myself, I'll be heading along, I would think, to the Knees Up. I think it stands a chance. And I've just realised I don't have the... Yes, I do. So, oh, let's do it. So there you go, that's where I'm going to be next Saturday. I'm looking forward to it immensely, as I always do to these things. I've never had a bad vape meet yet. But it's with that thought that I leave you tonight. Sorry we're a little bit later than we were supposed to be. I'll be back again next week. So will Dougie. Until then, thanks for watching.